All
Good.
right. Well then, welcome to Conservation Commission. Today is March 18th. We will start by taking a roll call. I see Ken,
Here.
Paul,
Here.
Eleanor.
Here.
I am also here, and Jimmy is absent. And then we'll move on to approval of the minutes, starting with February 18th. Was there any discussion?
No.
Is there a motion to approve?
I think you got the edited minutes, right? So if you guys were okay with that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think we all got the edited versions.
Okay. Yep.
Is that a motion?
I'll move to approve them.
I'll second.
All right. Ken,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Eleanor,
Yes.
and I'll vote yes. Moving on to the March 4th minutes, which we also have the edited version of. Do we have a motion for those or any discussion?
I think the
just-
edits
Oh,
helped.
go ahead. Yeah.
No, the edits were fine with me. Eleanor, do you have anything to add?
No. I just included some edits based on what came up in the hearing. Yeah.
So I want to make that a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
March 4th. I'll second.
Okay. Ken,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Eleanor,
Yes.
and I'll also vote yes.
Okay.
Great. Moving on, we have DEP 313632, Town of Wakefield, 60 Farm Street. Continued public meeting, request to amend order of conditions for the installation of lighting at Burnett Field within 100 foot of a wetland. Is the applicant here?
Yes, we are.
Awesome. If you want to take it away.
I'm Joe Burchant, Chairman of the Permanent Building Committee. Peter Robach of SMMA is here as well as Helen Fantini from SMMA and Mike Murphy from the high school.
And
Peter,
I'm also here as well. I'm Logan Finney with SMMA.
I'm sorry, Logan, I missed you there. Sorry about that.
That is totally fine. Hey, good evening, everyone. So just kind of is everyone able to see my screen right now?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. A quick reminder, the amendment was for the installation of 4 70-foot tall sports lighting field poles around the Burnett Field softball field. And the subsequent trenching and electrical work to feed these poles. And where we left off last week, we had kind of 2 looming questions from the commission. One being the operation of the lights. So we reached out to the school and we received a standard operating procedure, which I passed along to Ethan. And so hopefully everyone has had a chance to read this, but essentially the main takeaway here is that this field is not intended to be used beyond 9 p.m. for these events, except in emergency conditions, but otherwise there'll be a 9 p.m. curfew. And that goes for all 4 lights around this field. And then the second question that we had was about dark sky compliance. And so we reached out to our electrical consultant and they reached out to Musco, who designed these lights. And we have kind of 2 main takeaways from this. One is that there's unfortunately no dark sky compliant fixtures, but rather there's a dark sky outdoor sports lighting program. And this design is now modified to be certifiable for that program.
What does that mean?
So there's a few kind of qualifiers. As I understand it, there's restrictions on uplight. Essentially, there can be no uplight from the fixtures at installed and aimed positions. The targeted illumination is specific so that 85% of the total system lumen output is targeted, falls within the target area. There's a requirement on glare, which requires that the maximum intensity shall not exceed 1,000 candle or CD. I apologize. As calculated / measured 150 feet beyond the field of play. There's restrictions on the illuminance values, which says that average illuminance on playing field is no more than 10% above the target illuminance. And there's a cap on the spectrum, the maximum CCT is 5,700K. And there's also additional restrictions on the controls, which essentially states that the lights would have to be shut off before 11 p.m., but our standard operating procedure that we received calls out 9 p.m. Yeah, there's just a multitude of requirements for that program.
Has it been applied elsewhere? And with what kind of results?
The dark sky compliance program, has it been
Yeah.
applied elsewhere?
Yeah,
I don't know the answer to that. I imagine it has. It's a program that, is an established program. As far as within Wakefield, I'm not
yeah.
sure.
I doubt it has been in Wakefield, but I'd be curious as to its success elsewhere. I mean, we've been hearing from several of the neighbors, and I'm guessing you guys might, or the building committee might also have been hearing about concerns about the new tall structures.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was an abutter in here last hearing.
Yeah. And we've heard from others besides him.
Can I ask a couple questions, Paul?
Go right ahead, Ellen.
Logan, do you have a view of the zoomed out of the softball field and the wetland nearby and the surrounding area? I think you guys had sent us a more zoomed out version that we could look at just to take in the whole area.
I can pull up an aerial from Google. I don't recall us sending a plan like that.
Because normally we look at lighting in the context of the resource areas. I can read what was on the website before. The school said, can you provide details on what windows and exterior lighting will be on the back of the new school near Wiley Street? And it said there will be exterior lighting along the east side of the building to provide safe egress and circulation conditions around the back of the school. This lighting will be designed to minimize spillover to the wetland and the neighborhood beyond. And then when I went back and looked at the October 3rd, 2023 minutes, it looked like the project had a lighting consultant. And it said, Ms. Collins reviewed the lighting plan. Lights will be at 3,000 Kelvin. She stated the light poles in the parking lot would be 20 feet in height. Pedestrian light poles would be 10 feet. A small amount of light would spill into the wetland. One pole will be placed in the parking lot adjacent to wetland A. This is needed for public safety. All light will be directional and dark sky compliant. And then on November 18th, the lighting concerns were reviewed again. Ms. Collins noted that the only areas where lights would bleed into the wetland area was the upper parking lot. A maximum of 3,000 Kelvin would be used in order to minimize light spill to other areas. So now you guys are proposing something that's quite different and more, I guess, not consistent with the original plan. This is helpful, I think.
So I just want to, sorry to butt in. I just want to make sure we stay focused here.
Yeah,
So I was here when we permitted the job, and everything you read is completely accurate. There was a lot of discussion about lighting.
okay.
And yes, we have security lighting on the back of the building. The reason we are here is because we are adding these lights as an amendment for the field. So we're not changing any other aspect of the project. All the other lighting is staying exactly the same. We are just adding these 4 lights.
How tall is the current building and the new building?
I believe it's 40 feet.
Okay, so it's 3 stories and 40 feet, and you're adding 70-foot lights, right?
Correct.
So there'll be spillover into the wetland, right? So that's something we have to assess. So when we look at this, like, can you show where the wetlands are on this map?
So the way our layout sheets are set up is it's kind of split, the main site here, and then the other sheet that I had shown before is an enlargement of, forgive me, wrong one, an enlargement of the field. So as a reminder, the wetlands are flagged near the softball field here. And then if I go back to the other sheet, that's going to be off the page a little bit on the right side. Essentially over here, you can see some of those wetland flags. And then the other portion, the other wetland on the site was kind of on the east side of the building here.
Thank you.
One of the attachments I had forwarded to Ethan was an illumination summary of the field with the new lights. And these, I believe the units, it's measured in candle feet. But the main focus of this plan here is to show that all this light is being targeted directly on the playfield. If I even zoom out, you can see the extent to where these lights will be projecting light. They're illuminating downward. So if you're standing, across town, you might be able to see that the lights are on, but they won't be illuminating the area that you're at. It's a very targeted design.
Forgive me, I'm probably having trouble reading your map, but it looks to me like the light spill would extend beyond the parking lot and beyond the playing field, right? Into the wetlands and the wooded area, but we don't show those depicted on the map. So it's hard for me to make an assessment whether this is improving the conditions or not.
How far is that 0 boundary from into the wetland?
The boundary being shown is 150 feet. So that's
From the
poles themselves.
from the poles.
Where are the poles on this?
That would be the A2,
Okay.
A1, B1, and B2. And I apologize, this is rotated yet again from our other layout plans. So the wetland is going to now be on the left side, and then the building is up here.
Okay, I thought when we talked at the last meeting, the poles were going to be, the 2 closest ones were going to be installed about 12 to 15 feet from the wetland.
Yes, that is correct. If I go back to our layout plan, you can see along the third baseline here. Yep, the wetland flag again. So this was about, 13 feet.
Okay. But in your other diagram that you just had, were you showing that the lights went out 100 feet?
No, the poles are remaining in the same location. This is measuring the illuminance of the light at 150 feet away, which In some instances, you're getting 0.01.
Foot candle.
That was one of the dark sky program stipulations is 85% of the light has to hit the field. So 85% of the total light is hitting within the field boundaries. And that's a very strict requirement in the dark sky program. So that's why this 150-foot boundary you can see is zeros for 99% of it, because they refocus the lights to stay within the boundary for that 85%.
So how far into the wetlands are we with this 150-foot boundary? It looks like we would be about 135 feet at the maximum.
Yeah, where this boundary is showing zeros, I mean, if you drew a straight line out from that light pole, it'd be roughly 135 feet.
Mm-hmm. But that means there's higher illuminance levels as you move closer to the field, still within the wetlands.
I do
So-
imagine there would be a little bit of spillover, but again, this dark sky compliance program is very specific that at least 85% is hitting the targeted area, which in this case is the outfield and the infield.
Okay, but the new lights will be 5,600 Kelvin versus, was that it? Versus 3,000?
Sorry, the maximum correlated color temperature is 5,700 K.
Now,
Which-
when you're putting these poles in, obviously you're going to be digging up. Where are they planning to store any of that dirt or sediment that's being dug up?
I think the way that these will be installed, there won't be a ton of spoilage generated, but the rest of the site is still under construction. You know, I imagine they could prepare an area and stockpile this separate if needed.
Okay, I think the concern would just be to continue to make sure it's not within the wetland area.
Yeah, absolutely.
This project would fall under the total projects certificate, which, yes, there's no stockpiling within 100 feet of the wetlands.
And then, sorry, currently, like the field's already been restored. It looks beautiful. I went over there. So is the plan, like as I understand it, you have the go-ahead to do the design phase, but not necessarily the construction phase. That's a TBD. So how would this proceed? Because the last time you talked about laying the electrical conduits, are you planning to do this in a two-step to lay the electrical conduits and put in the bases and then come back and install the lights at a later date? Or how would that all come to, is it a two-step process or would it all be done at once?
It's a two-step process. We would do the electrical, lay the basis, and then the lights would be at the end of the project.
So you would be disturbing the area twice?
The earthwork would all be done at once, and then just the lights themselves would be installed at the end. So the hope would be to get the bases and the conduit in at once, so you're only disturbing the area once. And then the second stage isn't going to disturb any earth. It's just wiring and hanging of fixtures.
I believe last week Chip mentioned these poles are so tall that they require a crane. So the crane would be outside of the buffer zone.
So you would install 70-foot poles, but you may not proceed with the lights? Is that the thought process if you don't have the funding to do this?
That is
No,
correct.
no.
No.
I'm sorry, Helen Fantini with SMMA. I see other people's hands are up. No, the infrastructure or the underground would be done. And obviously, we need approval by this body to proceed with the actual fixtures themselves, which are attached to the poles. The poles have a relatively, believe it or not, minimizing of disturbance when they're installed. They have a helical piling that drills in minimal spoils. It's very efficient. So the poles and the drilling would happen in phase, we'll call it phase 2, the installation of the pole with the light.
So sorry, just to recap, just the conduit phase 1, and then the pole and the base with the light phase 2.
Correct.
Are there any other questions from the commission before we open up to some of the hands I see raised?
I guess I have one more,
Go for
if
it,
that's okay.
please.
So I was reading through the guidance on Wetlands Program Policy 85-4 amended orders. And I understand there is no provision that requires the commission to consider or act upon a request. And that the intent is to integrate changes that are relatively minor and will have unchanged or less impacts on the interests protected by the Act. So I guess my question is, how are these changes going to have less impact on the wetland resource areas? I guess that's my question. Or be an improvement to the conditions that were provided for this project.
I think these poles just they're there to serve, the users of this play field and generally be a benefit to the town. Obviously these light poles are not installed intentionally for the betterment of a neighboring wetland, but rather to improve this field. We can do the best that we can, following this dark sky outdoors sports lighting compliance and reducing disturbance within these buffer zones. But the intention is not to better this wetland. We'll do our best.
To minimize impacts and to the bigger goal is to improve a Title IX program, this young women's softball field, which we've had to take offline while we build this new building. And these are performance lights. Their use is restricted. And we absolutely respect the confines, the bounds of the wetlands. But knowing that these lights will be restricted in their use and very specifically aimed at the area of play, we hope that that will factor into your decision.
And I guess my last question is, did you already send a copy of your request and the narrative description of the changes to the department's regional office?
Peter, I know you had written that memo. I don't know.
No,
The
we have not
DEP?
provided this to DEP yet, no.
Okay. And you guys already received a partial certificate of compliance for the work around sorry, I'm just
The end
Culvert.
culvert. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, that's all I have for the moment.
Okay. So I believe I saw Julie's hand up first. So Julie, the floor is yours.
Hi, can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Ethan, if you could put my pictures up, please. Thanks so much.
Yep.
Okay, while he's putting my pictures up, I hope that after
Sorry.
tonight's
Sorry, can you just state your name and address, please?
Scott, 321 Main Street. I hope that after tonight's public hearing that this application is rescinded. A project of this enormous expense should either be funded by a town meeting vote or a private-public partnership, such has been done in the past. If discussions were held in a small group outside of a public meeting without a posted agenda or meeting minutes taken and a request was made behind closed doors for this, the public had a right to know. I did Google search similar projects in the area, and I found that projects similar to this that weren't necessarily near such sensitive land areas were well over $1 million. And I'm not sure that this field work would be covered and reimbursed by the state entity that's going to be reimbursing our community maybe 50% or so of this project. So I hope this is revisited. The first picture I have here, this is a rendering of the Wakefield Memorial High School project that the community is most familiar with. The community at town meeting was shown this picture as a representation of what the final design would look like. As you can see, the taxpayers who attended town meeting thought that they were supporting a project that would have a fully treed barrier between Burnett Field and Wiley Street. It's fully treed because it's part of the Saugus River watershed, and it's unfortunate that the Saugus River watershed group was not invited tonight. The Mill River is right there. The Saugus River watershed is part of 11 communities, and in the past, they have stuck together and bound together, and I have lived in Wakefield all of my life, and there's a really logical reason why there have never been lights in this very short softball field. I have here that the Wakefield softball league, not the high school, they play at the Doyle School, they play at Maple Way Parks 1 and 2. They have 5 fields that they play at. They, as far as I know, at no public meeting have they requested they play at Burnett Field. They play at Vets Field. They haven't, as far as I know, requested any of this at any public meeting. I watch every Recreation Commission meeting. They haven't requested it. I went back on the Recreation Department's calendars. You sign up to use this field on their public calendars. I went back to 2021, 2022, and 2023. The Burnett tournament is played in July. It ends at 6 o'clock at night. It's on a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. I have the field here. MIAA Softball League in Massachusetts starts the second week in March, and it is mandated to end at the end of May. Their tournaments are in June, and then that's it. MIAA has no softball in the fall, and I have not seen that the Wakefield Community Softball League has been looking for any other spaces. They have 5. So I don't know where this request came from. Ethan, if you could go to the second slide, please. So that first slide showing all those trees, the trees are gone. So I'm thinking if these lights are going up and they're 70 feet, then these neighbors are going to need a wall, like a green monster. So there are no trees there. If you could move to the next slide, Ethan. It's shocking that the trees are gone. This is not what I expected when I went to town meeting. If you could go to the next slide, Ethan. Again, if I look at this slide, look at the tremendous depth of the trees and the height of the trees. I haven't seen a picture with the lights compared to the height of the trees, compared to the height of the Woodville School. Some people in this meeting right now know the tremendous uproar over the potential addition of height to the Woodville School. Now we're adding 70-foot lights. Ethan, if you could take the next slide. Again, that house and another house in direct line of fire of the massive 70-foot stadium lighting. They will have no buffer. And the last slide, when we think about the, if you keep going, if we think about, does that have the track on it? Yes, that track is on the Farm Street side. If you're driving by the high school at night, that track will be completely lit up. This is the new Wakefield Memorial High School as it will be looking out from Farm Street, as provided and copied by the town's website. 2 weeks ago, one of the members of the Recreation Commission wanted to remind everybody that this is not an urban area. These 70 feet tall lights will be the height of a 6 or 7-story building. We can't forget that we have the vocational school behind. We have Landrigan Field behind. all of these areas will be throwing off light. And again, it's all some of the most loved area in our community. It encompasses Breakheart, it encompasses the Mill River, lots of wetlands. We don't need these lights. I never saw at a public meeting that anybody ever asked for them. Let's be clear. We are talking about stadium lighting standing 70 feet tall, the equivalent to 6 to 7 story buildings. When reviewing the November Permanent Building Committee, it's clear that the lights and all the infrastructure needed was going to be over $500,000. But then I Googled it because they told me to Google it in the meeting. And I did, and it came to close to $1 million. This means the project is outside the scope of what MSBA will be providing 50% reimbursement for. This is from the contingency fund, which I really don't think should be used for this. As a resident of Wakefield, I know my dad was the superintendent of the light department for many, many years. I have, after he passed away, I got all of his work folders. I have about 8 letters here of thanks with the Wakefield Municipal Light and Gas Company, helping with light installations for fields over many, many times. The old high school, the Galvin School, a number of times. We had public-private partnerships to get these lights. The taxpayers have not been included in this process. This is not a good plan. It's been done behind the scenes and it's not fair. We won't be reimbursed for this. The average tax bill is already going up $1,700 for that school.
I'm going to have to interrupt. I'm just wondering if these comments are going to pertain to the Wetlands Protection Act in this hearing specifically.
Well, there's nothing to stop the light spill. Unless we
okay, I'm just hearing a lot of budgeting and voting, which is valid, but just maybe not in this particular hearing.
The light spill will be uncontrollable, and quite frankly, if this procedure had proceeded correctly, this possibility would have hit other town boards before going to you. So I feel like I've been cheated out of that process, and I know I get what you're saying. It's hard to encompass everything in 5 minutes during one public hearing. But again, the rec department hasn't voted for this. I don't know how this came to be. I haven't heard anybody ask for it. We have 5 fields already. And again, I can't state clearly enough. MIAA says softball seasons end in June. And there is no fall MIAA softball. So I don't know what we're talking about here. And according to the calendars that people have signed up for over 3 years, there hasn't been use in September and October and November. As a matter of fact, there's been hardly any use in July except for the Burnett 3-day event in 3 consecutive years. So I don't know what the need is. This is a nice thing to do, but it's not a need. And these funds are not supposed to be used for something. I think this is rather impulsive. It hasn't been vetted by enough people in public meetings. And I'll refrain. So much. Thanks so much for letting me speak.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you for sharing all of that.
One more thing. Have there been other companies that the lights that you're showing tonight, are they proprietary to the company, or have other lighting companies been bidding on these exact lights? Because I'm worried about the cost, and I haven't seen that anything has ever gone out to bid. Thank you.
I believe these are the same light poles that are going around the track as part of the project as it stands.
The same height?
I'm not sure on that. I'd have to check. Peter, do you know that?
They're the same manufacturer is what he meant by that, but yes.
So we haven't gone out to bid on these. So when we asked for the light compliancy, I think what we were referring to a couple of weeks ago is that other companies would be looked at. It's just been Musco.
In relation to this permitting, the lights we submitted would be the lights that will be installed.
Has there been anything put out to bid in regard to this project and the lighting? You've looked at one company.
I think we're getting a little off track again. I think that's a very valid concern and question, and they absolutely should be answering that.
I think it would be helpful because I think some of you were referring to the dark sky lighting. Is there another company that could offer something that the commission would find more palpable. Thank you. 70 feet is ridiculously high. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Julie. Paul, would you like to take the floor?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Paul Rybicki from Parker Road. I had a few questions about the lighting there. Could you tell me, are all 4 light poles going to have the same configuration of lights with 5 lights on each pole?
I see 1, 2, 3, 4 on the poles that are closer to the dugouts, and it looks like 5 at sorry, there's 2 mounting heights. Let me step back here. At the 70 feet height, there are 3 poles or 3 lights on the 2 poles that are closer to the dugouts, and 1 light at a 16-foot elevation. And then on the 2 poles that are farther in the outfield, there are 5 lights at that 70 feet height.
All right, thank you. Are any of the lights shielded?
They will have a shield on the top, yes.
I'm talking about shielded side shielding. We know we don't want light going up into the sky, but the neighbors and the wetlands are right there. Is there any design plan to shield and reduce the candle spillover into the sensitive areas?
I believe the shield that is proposed is curved slightly to focus the light downward. But yes, in order to achieve this dark sky compliance, to have a certifiable design for the dark sky compliance program, 85% of this light has to be targeted directly downward. And I believe they would achieve that with a fixture and a shielding.
I'm so confused. I didn't think that this was going through dark sky certification.
The design is modified so that it is a certifiable design for the dark sky outdoor sky lighting program.
So the plan is going to be submitted to the dark sky organization and certified?
That is not the recommendation we've received at this time. That is to not do that. But
why would there be a recommendation again to not do that?
That's not, sorry, Logan, to just clarify. So Dark Sky has approved fixtures for other uses besides sports lighting, but because sports lighting is such a niche design that comes with varying different site constraints for a field, you can't just pick out a fixture that is dark sky compliant. So if you go on the dark sky website, there are thousands of fixtures that are dark sky compliant. That is not the case with field lighting. So they have a program across the country that has very specific design parameters. Those parameters were used for this design. So when we're saying it's certifiable, that means it follows those parameters that dark sky has set forth. There's not a stamp on it that says dark sky compliant like there would be for another fixture.
I totally get it. The design of the lights are not, you can't buy dark sky compliant fixtures for the sports lighting. However, the dark sky organization does do design review and design certification of sports lighting with the going through the process. You can get dark sky certified design for sure. There's no question about it. So the next question I would ask is, could you tell me what the spillover will be at the border of the wetland? What do you expect the lux level to be at the highest point where it's touching the wetland?
We only have the data that we presented. We don't have that exact number.
So basically you're showing what's the zero, almost negligible at the 150-foot level. But within there, we're right next to people's houses and next to sensitive wetland within that 150-foot area. We still don't know if we're going to have side shielding for the most extreme situation. Could you tell me what the output of these primary lights is in lumens, the fixture?
So we have, let me share my screen again so that we can look at this together here. This
I
fixture
really
type,
appreciate it.
sorry,
I appreciate it. Here you go. So we're talking
Oh.
about,
we're talking about three types,
yep,
52,000, 150,000, and 104,000 lumens.
so staggering amounts of light, which is what you need for a sports thing to happen. So when you have that massive light, it's going to spill over. The closest point from the source of the light to the wetland is under 100 feet.
Source of light. Yes,
It's under 20 feet.
That's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm. So it seems like it would be two things. I would think that you should get dark sky certification, not just talk about the principles of dark sky and how nice it would be, but getting it dark sky certified would mean real accountability. Just like the next question I have is, could the lighting controller be programmed that the light turns off at 9:01, no matter what, unless the police chief has an override? So you don't leave it up to the user that the lights are gonna go off. You know, one of the things it says was plan your sporting event. But if I was a neighbor, I sure would want the thing to go off at 9:01 without having to worry about it. There's gonna be sophisticated lighting controls here. So could that be done? Would you be willing to have it go off at 9:01 with a override so that it's not left up to the users who's playing softball or they're in the 8th inning and they only 15 more minutes?
I believe Mike Murphy has his hand up. I think he's the athletic director for the high school.
Yeah.
Go for it, Mike.
Well, I'm a little blurry. I apologize. So yes, so in terms of in just with my experience in using Landrigan and the Musco lighting system, we can absolutely set it's basically an app, right? You can get in there and you can set a schedule.
Thank
So you can have them turn on at 6 and shut off at 9, and then I would do that regardless, or whoever wants to be the person event manager for that game. That means they're shutting off at 9. And with my experience with these lights too, if they do shut off, they take a little while to even remotely consider turning back on. It's not like an on-off switch, so someone can't really have too much fun with that one. But again, we just from a football standpoint, we set those lights to go, we'll set them an hour longer, where if we're starting a football game at 6, we'll set those lights to turn off at 9, knowing the game's going to end anywhere from, 7:55 to 8:05. And then the DPW is there to clean things up. But short answer is yes, that can absolutely be done.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you for that, Mike. Paul, are you all set? Do you have any other questions?
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm all set.
I have one further question
Yeah.
with regards to, there was a chart, the last chart you had up there, Logan, from Musco, I believe.
Yes.
I'm trying to understand what it's telling me. If you could put it back up. At the bottom, yeah, zoom it in because it's impossible to read even. There we go. Okay, we're seeing her horizontal illuminance of 51, 52 foot candles average in the infield and 30 to 33 in the outfield. And then spill at 3 feet. What does that mean? Spill at 3 feet, spill at 5 feet. 5 feet from where and 3 feet from where? I mean, are we talking from the boundaries or what?
Those are vertical feet. So it's 3 feet above grade and 5 feet above grade.
Okay, so that's horizontal illuminance spillover to what? I mean, it looks very low in that one.
It's all within that 150 foot buffer.
All within the 150 foot boundary. I guess what I'd like to see is what does that profile look from the edge of the field out to that boundary? Because as we've noted previously, you're including a fair amount of the wetland inside that boundary. I mean, I for one would like to actually see, a calculated profile. I recognize it's only going to be calculated. So we can have some sense of how much is this going to penetrate into that wetland?
Yeah, unfortunately, the map that Musco provided us here
Right.
only
It
shows
stopped at the
building.
boundary of the field and the fixtures, and doesn't tell us a thing about what happens on the other side of the fixtures. I recognize it should drop off fairly rapidly, but I think that red line just to the left of the A1 is just about the wetland boundary.
Yeah, I believe that's the culvert that they're showing behind that.
Yeah,
That
okay.
green.
That's the head wall of the culvert right there, yes.
Yeah, this would be the end wall. I'm not actually sure what this line work is. Maybe it's some sort of fencing that Musco grabbed, but yeah, this is the culvert end wall.
Yeah. I mean, it's really those two fixtures, A1 and A2, that are the challenge for us. The other two don't have much, but can Musco
B1.
provide the information about how much, what that light tapering off is going to look like, going out to and beyond the fixture? So that we can have an answer to what kind of an impact we're looking at? Is it de minimis, or is it, I mean, I understand that at 150 feet, it's de minimis, but that's a ways out.
That's something we could certainly ask Musco about.
Okay. I think we'd like to see that as part of our review, or at least I would like to see that. I haven't really
Yeah, I
consulted
think-
with colleagues.
I think that would be worth it. Julie, I see your hand up again. I can give you 2 minutes on this.
A quick question. I wish the Musco map that was just shown included accurate placements of houses, so we could also see where the light would be thrown on. Maybe if Musco could put some of the houses that are directly there on the next map, that would be helpful. I don't know if the high school athletic director is still here, but the high school, I printed out their schedules too. They don't play softball at night on that field. They never have. And most of the games are in the afternoons. They travel, they play home, they travel, they play home. Will this be, because I know it's set up now on the Recreation Department's website, I'm assuming, even though we were told differently 2 weeks ago, that this will be used by the adult men's and or women's softball league. If so, they will need a bathroom. If so, we know there are no bathrooms there. I took some photos recently at the end of the last fall softball league down near Vets Field. There were beer cans in the lake, beer cans on the wetlands in behind the Hartshorn house, beer cans in the water, beer cans in the stands. And I sent the email to Steve and the Recreation Commission and the department, and they said they had issues. If the high school kids aren't playing at night, and if the Wakefield league, the softball league, hasn't been asking for space, who exactly is asking to use this space? And are we going to be putting bathrooms in that space? Thank you.
So I can answer from a high school standpoint. Again, I just started at Wakefield in September, so it's been fast and furious. But I would say the first point is we haven't played at night just without having really necessarily that option. But we're also not gonna. I mean, we play a 20-game high school season, so by no means would we be playing 20 night games and doing this every Tuesday and Friday or whatever those days of the week are. I think it's more so of having that option of, again, trying to navigate some of the things in the issues around sports within Massachusetts in the area of busing issues, getting to places on time, moving game times back, contemplating a later start time within the school. All of those things just kind of just slowly but surely pushing us back to start. And again, that might be 5 o'clock as opposed to 4 o'clock or 4:15 as it is now. It could be a little later depending on the opponent of where they're coming from. From a recreational standpoint, I can't speak to that, as I just don't oversee anything to do with the field rentals other than letting those departments know when our games are in fact scheduled.
So I appreciate what you're saying, because that's what I was hoping you were going to say. We all know that, as I had stated earlier, the girls softball they start in March, but the games start in April. They have to end in May. The tournaments are in June. We all know that it's dark at 8:30ish at those times. If you're playing 2 times a week and you start playing in April and you have to be done by May, I don't see why we need lights. It's dark at 8:30, and you're not playing during the summer. And we were told 2 weeks ago that the adult leagues would not be there. If they are there, then unless we have bathrooms, they're going to be using nature in inappropriate ways. There will be beer cans in the areas of 2 schools. This is why this area has never had lights. It's because of the watershed area. It's because of the neighborhood. It's because it's in between. The schools are sensitive areas as well. This isn't needed. It's not needed. It's light until playing time needs to be over at that time of year. There will be nobody there all summer. The girls don't play softball in the fall. It's a no-brainer. We do not need this.
Thank you for that, Julie. A reminder to everyone again, any budgeting or open meeting law or anything to do with whether these are wanted or not is not in our jurisdiction. We are looking directly at impacts based on this amended order of conditions or potential order of conditions amended based on the installation of these lights. I see Brian Callahan has a hand raised.
Yes, as the resident at 52 Wiley Street, one of the residents, which will be shown directly upon by the lights. When will we have that forum to discuss this? Because like Julie said, we aren't notified. I only know about this meeting now because of her. And these meetings pop up in surprise times, and it will come and go without me ever even knowing about it.
Yep, as we're all saying, these are all incredibly valid concerns. We don't disagree with you, and I understand your frustration. Unfortunately, none of that is something that's within our purview as the Conservation Commission. So I don't know if someone else on the call here might have a better answer to that, Ethan or Judy.
I have
There
no,
could be some mechanism to defer us to people who can.
I think you pretty much covered it, Haley. Sort of agree with you there.
Yeah, I would say look towards the building committee and or town council. Do we have any further questions from the commission that we want to address tonight?
No, I think we've left some homework in.
Yeah, I just want to, I guess, as the applicant, be very clear on what information would be needed to be presented to the commission. I heard a plan showing specific candle levels at the wetland boundaries.
Yes,
And is there anything else?
and also going into the wetland.
Or yes, correct.
If they can give us the profile out to the wetland, I'm sure they can, and they've shown us a profile, a negligible profile at 150 feet. I think it would be helpful to see how that ramps down.
It would also be great, if possible, if we could then take that and do a little overlay with one of your other maps so we can see it like in relation to the wetlands and Wiley Street.
Sorry, I missed the end of that. What was that?
Just seeing it in relation to the wetlands and Wiley Street residences behind it, just so we know like where exactly we're looking at it and where that drop off of spill is.
And then I guess my question is to the commission, if we believe an amended order of conditions is the appropriate venue for this request. I know it's more procedural, but again, I'm just going back to the DEP guidance where the standard is, you know, it's typically like an existing condition, plant 10 trees, and the applicant comes back and says, oh, well, we can, you know, accomplish the same benefits with, you know, 7 bushes and 3 trees. Will you give us, you know, will you let us do that? It's generally supposed to be insignificant. And a whole narrative needs to be provided, you know, to the DEP. The end. So I think, like, with the application that you gave us, or the cover letter, and the small, you know, kind of thumbnail print of the field, I think that's not really sufficient. Well, I guess there are 2 issues. One is if we think this should be treated as an amended order of conditions. And then the second piece is, you know, regardless, you would probably come back to us either way to do a full NOI or whatever. We need, I think, more information than what we've gotten in sort of a coherent package that shows the lighting next to the resource areas that will be impacted, as Ken discussed. And then, you know, the specs that you have on the lights kind of in the same package. I think the follow-up information has been helpful, but it'd be nice to, you know, kind of package it up again.
Eleanor, I think to answer your question, we'd need to consult with DEP, because I don't know the answer. I'm not sure any of us do, whether this is actually you know, what you read us of DEP's guidance. It sounds like this would be a challenging thing to fit it under the rubric of an improvement to the conditions.
What's the difference in the review process? Does anyone know? Or
Yeah,
if we're
I don't
looking at the
know.
same information,
is
it just a procedural going down the right avenue? Or would we be looking at the same information and voting on the same information?
Well, we've issued an order of conditions, right? So what specific condition are we amending in this case? I couldn't tell what that would be, because we're not saying, you know, please amend condition 53 to do X, Y, Z. Right? So this is new work.
Is it specifically amending the conditions, or is it amending the work that's going to take place under the existing conditions and adding new conditions appropriately? I don't know, to be completely honest with you.
I can pull up the guidance, or I can send it to you guys to review separately. I'd sent it to Ethan.
Ethan, maybe it's worth reaching out to someone at DEP and getting their thoughts on this.
Yeah, it seems like with the amended request, typically it's expected to have like no change in impact or less impact, where with an NOI, you might be reviewing the same information, but you might think the impact is negligible or small enough to approve. So I think either way could be good if you think the information you have is enough.
I wouldn't feel comfortable treating this as an amended order, just based on the guidance I'm seeing. I mean, it goes on to say the issuing authority first makes a determination whether the requested change is great enough to warrant the filing of a new notice of intent, or if it is relatively minor in nature and can be considered an amendment to the original final order of conditions. In making this determination, the issuing authority should consider such factors as whether the purpose of the project has changed, the scope of the project has increased, whether the project meets relevant performance standards, which we can look at, whether the potential for adverse impacts to the protected statutory interests will be increased, relatively minor changes which result in the same or decreased impact on the interests protected by the Act are appropriate for amendments. So that's the piece I'm grappling with.
Frankly, listening to that, I would say it would be appropriate for the applicant to present us with a new NOI. rather than
But
trying
we'd
to
still be
amend.
looking at the same
We'd be looking at the same project,
project.
but in terms of keeping this tidy and if we approve it, avoiding any potential for procedural appeal.
I mean, I don't know if we have to decide that tonight. We can
We can
consult.
continue the process and probably Ethan needs to have a further consultation with DEP, and we may need to discuss that. I won't be here at the next meeting, but something that needs to be discussed.
Sounds like a plan to me. All right. So just obviously we have a few outstanding items. Are we okay? Peter or Logan, whoever would like to answer, with continuing to the next hearing?
Yeah, I guess I'm just, how will that decision be made to us? Because the decision for whether it's amendment or new would come from this group. And I understand if you need to reach out to DEP on the side, but ultimately it comes from the Wakefield Conservation Commission, who was who issued the conditions. So would we be continued as an amendment in order for you to issue then whether it is an amendment or not? I just want to understand the path forward here.
I think it would be prudent to reach out to DEP for advice, Ethan. I think it's a good idea. We have all the information for the circuit rider and ask. I think that'd be helpful. Unfortunately, Peter, yes, we would have to figure that out. So you may be extending this hearing to find out that one way or another. We just don't have an answer for you right now. So we would have to extend it and try to have an answer for you by the time we get back to you. That makes sense. We just don't have the information with us right now to understand.
Yeah, no, I understand that. I guess are we continuing down the path? Are we sending you the updated plan? Are we coming to the next hearing, or are we just awaiting a confirmation before we go ahead and do all that? I guess that's the question I have.
I think either way, whether it's an amended order or if it's a new NOI, either way, we'd still like to see that new map that we discussed. So I think it would be good to send that. In terms of procedurally moving forward, Ethan, I'm hoping you can help me out on this one, but I would say just staying in touch for the time being.
It might be worth just reviewing that new map lighting plan and seeing if we could approve it. But then if there is any concerns, we might decide at the next meeting to move forward with an NOI instead.
Can I make a request about coming from the public? The past two meetings, there have been materials shown by the applicant that haven't been supplied to the public. And I know I talked about this to Ethan yesterday. If I were to do a public records requesting meeting materials, I would be entitled to have what was presented a couple weeks ago by the applicant, as well as what was presented tonight and what was revised, and all of that should be shared with the Conservation Commission so that they have it permanently. So I did mention that to Ethan. I do want to request everything that was presented publicly this week and the last time, and I'll do that in a different way. But if we could have the applicant make sure that they share with the Conservation Commission all of the meeting materials, the PowerPoints or what have you. I would also request again that if this is to continue, I really want pictures to see what the lights look like in relation to the heights of other entities within the scope of the project, the trees, the houses, the schools, both schools. And I would like to see also on that field where the teams will be sitting in the diagram, where the houses are in the diagrams. I don't see where the houses are in the diagrams. Where the scoreboard is, I don't see that either. So it would give everybody an easier base, because in some of the pictures, the field is flipped. So it just gives you an easier way to look at things and decide how far things are from each other. So thank you very much.
Paul?
Yeah, Paul Rubicki, Parker Road. I just wanted to close with two final things. I wanted to once again reinforce that my understanding is that there are no dark sky compliant light fixtures for sports, but that doesn't preclude the dark sky certification process being implemented. Since it's only 20 feet or so to the wetland, I strongly feel that they should either skip the lights or go through the dark sky certification and get it certified. I also think strongly that there should be side shielding looked at for the neighbors and the spillover. We can talk about it further when we get maps showing the light intrusion into the sensitive areas, but I thank you very much for hearing my concerns.
Thank you, Paul. All right, any final notes from the commission before we wrap this project up for the night?
I guess I would want to see the narrative a little more detailed, like how close to the wetland, the things we've heard, adding that the two lights will be 12 to 15 feet from the wetlands. And your proposed, heights of the poles and the Kelvin, that type of thing, that will all be relevant. You should include that in the narrative. And I guess most importantly, how it, because I think this is something DEP will look at, how it enhances the protection or minimizes impact to the wetlands.
Thank you very much. Paul, your hand is still up. Is that from the last time, or did you have to
No,
follow up?
not at all. I had one more final comment.
Sorry.
She just mentioned
why I
about
asked.
she just mentioned about the Kelvin temperature. I just wanted to note that you guys had indicated you were going to go with 5,700 Kelvin, which is what you would do for sporting in the 5 to 6K range. That range for the color temperature is extremely disruptive for the wetlands critters, the salamanders, a lot of the other stuff that lives in the forest. They have a lot less susceptible to a lower, like a 4,400 Kelvin temperature, but that's not going to be possible because of the sports field. I just want to note that the actual temperature being 5,700 K is going to make it harsh and more intrusive than than other color temperatures, but it is dictated by the requirements there.
All right. Thank you for that. Thank you for everyone who contributed to this discussion tonight. So it seems we have a few steps moving forward. The applicants will work on that revised map and questions, and Ethan is going to get in touch with DEP, and we're going to figure out whether we're going to move forward as an amended order of conditions or if it needs to be in a line. All right. So thank you everyone who came here for this, and we will be moving on to other business now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. There we go. Other business. First up is wetland bylaw discussion. I know Eleanor, you had done some work on that. Did you want to touch base with us where you're at? You are on mute.
I had sent out an update with the edits we made last time. And then I took a stab at looking at other guidance to address Attorney Mullen's concerns regarding amended orders of condition. And was the other one. And then defining ANRADs, ORADs. Did people have a chance to look at that? Because if not, we could
When did you circulate that, Eleanor?
I shared it with Ethan and Judy, and I think Ethan sent it in some of the meeting materials.
Let's open those then.
Did people read them or get them?
Yes, that was in the zip folder from Ethan with the OSRP. Is that correct, Ethan?
Yes, it was in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I can show you quickly, and if you want to take time to digest it, that's also fine. I guess my personal main goal would be to get some kind of updated draft bylaw on our website, because the one we have now is quite old, and the regulations as well. And I don't think we've approved either of those. Oh, you have it up. Great.
Thank you, Ethan.
And this is dated 11/3/11. So sorry, Ethan, can you go back up a little bit? Sorry, there was one other section he had commented on, section B, paragraph B, in the procedures. To make this bigger. It begins, the commission shall hold a public hearing on the application. I think it's after this section.
There it is.
Yeah, here, this section. He didn't like what we were proposing, and so I had initially replaced it with the commission shall have the authority to continue the hearing in accordance with provisions of CMR 10.5B. And then I think last week I shared, or sorry, 2 weeks ago, the way Concord did it. And I think you guys liked this approach better. It was very specific, but just take a quick read through and make sure you're okay with it.
Ethan, can you just blow it up a little bit? Thank you.
So in the event the applicant objects to the continuance or postponement, the hearing shall be closed and the commission shall take action on such information as is available.
Doesn't that contradict with the first sentence that the commission shall have the authority? You only have the authority if the applicant approves the continuance. So you can ask for a continuance. And if the applicant says no, then the rest applies. That you just make a decision on the information you have at hand. That's their, they just take that at their own risk. But I don't think you have any authority. You have authority to ask them, but you don't have authority to continue it.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't say we have the authority if we don't.
So can we just say
No.
the
commission may continue a hearing to a specific date.
Or
Okay.
shall have authority to request continuance.
I think you should just take that out altogether. You could simplify it to say the commission may request a continuance. And then it's at the discretion of the applicant. And then the rest would apply.
Commission. Continuance. Of the hearing. For reasons stated at the hearing. Which may include the need, and then continue it. Okay. Does that sound okay? I guess I can start sharing if you want me to make edits live.
I think Ethan just
Oh, is he making? Oh, good. Okay.
I just
I
did
think
that small one, but if
did
you want
that,
to
Yeah.
share
that
it,
edit.
that could work.
You're doing such a good job. The commission may request. Oh. Okay, to continue the hearing to a specific date. I think that's fine the way you have it. Plans required. Okay.
Now, what is that A and B? Are
Oh,
those-
you know what? We could probably put, that's how they had it. It must have been bulleted. So you could do, like put in, make a paragraph there, Ethan, like do a hit return after the A and hit return after the B, and then it would make more sense, I think.
But you also can't continue the hearing for that reason. You can ask to have the information submitted 7 days ahead,
Mm-hmm.
but you can't continue the meeting for that.
Certainly. So then why are we including it? Should we just delete that?
You can delete it because I think it already says that on the website that anything has to be submitted.
Okay.
Ahead of time.
Yeah, so let's delete A.
Just A.
Yeah, let's look at.
And I don't think B needs to be called out as B. It can just simply be a continuation of the clause
Yeah.
above.
And what reason would there be not to combine the two hearings? I think that should
We
be
don't need that.
No, I think it might be stated somewhere that they can run at the same time.
Okay, so I think that's fine. I think the next section down was maybe E. What's the yellow part? Okay. What did I have noted? Oh, this is where I added the ORAD information, which we didn't have before. So we didn't really have a paragraph on this before, and this was where Tom Mullins said we should give more thought is to defining the process. So I borrowed from Reading, and actually it was more procedural, but it was clear. And so maybe, it would be helpful if people took a look and if they see how other towns handle it. But it just says any person desiring to certify for the purposes of this bylaw the limit of resource areas on a site may file a request for approval of resource area boundaries. This application shall include such information and plans as are set forth in the rules and regulations of the commission to describe and define the wetland resource areas. The commission shall accept abbreviated notice of resource area delineation, ANRAD, under the Wetlands Protection Act, and similar requests under this bylaw. Alternatively,
I
the
don't
commission.
understand that clause.
Okay.
As similar request, there's, feels like there's something missing.
Hmm.
Why wouldn't they just
Oh.
follow the same guidelines that are outlined in the Wetlands Protection Act? Because what's going to differ?
Hmm. So how would you address that here? Just, I guess what it's saying is, yeah, that it would request an ANRAD, it would be treated the same under the bylaw as the Wetlands Protection Act. That's how I was reading it.
Right, but I don't think it needs to be spelled out like that. I think it can just be simplified for brevity.
Uh, Do we want to just delete the first two sentences and say the commission shall accept an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation under the Wetlands Protection Act?
I think you can leave the first two sentences. The only sentence that I have a problem with is actually the, where we start with as similar request under this bylaw. And I guess I don't understand the request.
Maybe it's missing the A as a similar request under this bylaw.
I just don't,
I think the first two sentences need to be taken out because it's just repetitive. It's saying the same thing that would be approved under the regular process under the Wetlands Protection Act.
Did we lose your screen, Ethan?
I think we did. Yeah, one sec.
I was like, am I going crazy?
Happened.
But I think we deleted any person.
Delete the first.
Yeah, like, yeah, that any person through wetland resource areas.
mission. I still don't get that as similar request. And what that means or doesn't mean.
The commission shall accept under the wet. I guess what we're trying to say is we're accepting it under the bylaw, like whatever the Wetlands Protection Act allows will also allow. So how can we say that more cleanly? How about, can we just say we'll accept abbreviation under the bylaw the same as the Wetlands Protection Act?
In other words, say, shall accept an abbreviated notion, an ANRAD under this bylaw as under the Wetlands Protection Act.
That's what I'm thinking. Judy, what do you think? You're pretty good at this legalese stuff.
I think that sounds fine.
Under this bylaw. And then take out the as similar.
Yep.
Yeah. May request an RDA. Accept an RDA. All right.
I think why would you add the last section of that sentence
Yeah.
that starts with based on information submitted by? I don't think that needs to be called out.
Stop right at the comma.
Okay.
You can take out that first bracket before the word
Yep.
after.
Yeah, I think why I was adding the bracket was, let's see, because it's talking about a type of order, so I wasn't sure if it belonged in a different section. Oh, we can leave it here. Ken, you were going to say something?
No, but do we have to run this by Tom again?
Yeah, I think we would.
Yeah.
Once, I don't know if it's needed, just keep that in mind, that's all.
And did we ever answer if this should be in front of the next town meeting or held until November?
Definitely, I think the feedback we got was November.
Okay, I figured at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like there would be any bylaws coming to the town meeting in the spring.
Right. But that we were advised to, work on our marketing plan, basically.
Yeah,
Yep, so I think you can keep scrolling down the page. Permits and conditions. Going. Oh, amendments to permits. Okay.
um,
So this was the one where
I'm
he
not
didn't.
sure the language from the department guidance, starting with the department recognizes.
Mhm.
I'm not sure that belongs in our bylaw.
Okay. Ethan, if you click on the little
Comment?
comment, I have the link to the wetlands program policy. Yeah, I think you.
Want to
you
look at
can-
it?
Yeah, I think you can just pull it up quickly. Um, mm, uh, let's see. I mean, I guess you could say something like the commission will allow amendments to final orders of condition that are relatively minor and will have unchanged or less impacts on the interests protected by the act in accordance with program policy 85-4 or something like that. Would that work?
Is it worth saying, you think, or just referencing the DEP policy? And would that be enough?
Um, Yeah, I would probably just say something like amendments to permits that are minor in nature. You know, that paragraph shall be handled according to the procedures established under the wetlands program policy, and leave it at that. This was the one he didn't. He didn't like. But at least we're pointing to the specific policy. So you could delete all that.
Do you have it pulled up? You want to share, or I can share it again?
I can. I just want to make sure we have one document that's getting edited.
Yeah.
Sorry, just sharing. Let's print it out. So I think that first sentence is probably better than this one, because Attorney Mullen thought that was too vague. Oops, hang on a second. I want to do track changes. I don't know what else we want to say about the amended orders. Like, to your point, Ethan, it's probably better to say less, but that they're supposed to be minor in nature and will have unchanged or less impact on the interest protected by the Act. Something like that.
I have a question about the next sentence, changing the boundaries for good cause.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how that would work. If you've issued an ORAD and that's what they're going by, and then they submit a notice of intent based on that determination, how do you then reverse course?
Yeah. Give me 1 second. Shall be handled. I think Tom was saying that we can't modify the determination of a resource area boundary established in an ORAD. I think that was his point, that
so that should be taken out for good cause. They may modify the determination.
I think that's what he was saying, because
You couldn't modify it after the fact.
yeah, so hang on a second. What does this mean? I almost have to go back to his original file. Yeah, he thought we were standing on shaky ground with this, that if you issue an ORAD, it should be an ORAD, you know, and it
Right.
needs to stand for something.
And it's good for 3 years, so it would have to be a big, I don't know what change could, I mean, I don't know how that, if that would
Yeah.
even make a difference once the ORAD is done.
Yes, and I think I pulled from somebody else, Reading FAQ. They basically say, though, it's only good for 3 years, and they do delineations between April and October. It may not be revised and extended. So I'm going to suggest we just take this out. I agree with you, Judy. Are you guys okay with that?
I agree.
Yeah, I think you've got to give applicants certainty. If they're applying and we've agreed on their resource determination, they need to be able to rely on that and to have the ability to grab it away.
Cool. I think we took care of that.
Yep.
So it's just it.
Okay, go back up to that amendments though, just the way it's written.
Oh, sure. Okay. Where was that? Okay, amendments to
Right
permit.
there. Amendments to permits that are minor. The way it's written, it could be permits that are minor.
Oh. Amendments, here, we can do this. That are minor.
Amendments, minor,
Maybe we should say something like minor amendments to a
Yes.
notice of intent.
minor amendments to,
Because what other permit would they be changing?
well, they'd be changing, they're requesting a change. I mean, it's essentially what we're facing tonight
Yeah.
with the high school,
Mm-hmm.
which is I think, you know, the way I read the DEP information you've shared is the amendments need to be minor and have make no change or reduce impacts on wetlands interests.
Mm-hmm.
Does it say no change or minor change?
I'll copy and paste. Sorry, I printed it out so I could have it handy. It says when the changes sought in the final order of conditions are relatively minor and will have unchanged or less impact on the interests protected by the Act.
Seems to me that you've captured it. Minor amendments to a permit that will have unchanged or less impacts on the impact.
Oh, it's missing that. Will have by the Act shall be handled according to the procedures established in
Wetlands program policy.
85-4 amended orders.
Seems like that does what we need to do.
Yeah. And then it'll say modifications undertaken in the course of the project are within the scope of the deviations allowed for the receipt of a certificate of compliance at 310 CMR 1059. 310 CMR 1059 actually doesn't say too much, except that the plan has to be completed in accordance with the plan stamped by a registered professional engineer, architect, landscape, land surveyor, a written statement by such a professional person certifying substantial compliance with the plans and setting forth what deviations, if any, exist from the plans approved in the order accompanying the request for certificate of compliance. So, for example, tonight, my concern was we got into a gray area because you have a set of plans that were submitted already to the DEP that makes, you know, that outlines a lighting plan on the site and you know, what amount of disturbance is going to happen and conditions after disturbance. And is this too different? You know what I mean?
Okay, are you trying to put something else here, or do you
Oh,
have?
no, sorry. I'm just talking through that. Like, that's why I'm saying it should be minor, but
Yeah,
there is some language in the certificate of compliance. I don't know if we want to refer to that guidance too, but you would also see it if you read this amended order policy. But I think we should make it clear that it's supposed to be minor in nature. Sorry to get off track. Is that okay for now?
yeah.
Okay. So I think we're good. I'm just going to delete these.
Don't take out, yeah, 85.4. Yes, okay.
Yeah, that's deleted. Okay. And I'll do a clean version. I think that's it.
Okay, do we have some, I mean, I saw that we had something about, there've been sort of notes over here about an ORAD is good for 3 years. Do we ever say that?
It says it in the Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay,
I
but we
think.
don't necessarily have to call that out here.
No, because you're already saying it's going to follow the Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay, then fine. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes it's helpful to just read through the comments later on. I've sort of OD'd on them a little bit. I mean, the first one to revisit was this, the comment, when we're talking about jurisdiction, we're talking about jurisdiction of the commission.
Mhm.
So I don't know if we need to talk about the permitting here because that happens in a different section. So I think
Well, we need to, no person shall without filing a notice of intent with the commission and receiving and complying with an order of condition issued by the commission. You need to complete the sentence.
Okay. That's helpful. I think I was getting lost with the .
It's a long run-on sentence with a lot of subordinate. I no longer can diagram sentences, so I couldn't tell you what those are called anymore.
So I'm going to delete that comment. Okay.
You don't want to delete that.
What did I just do?
You just highlighted it.
Okay.
I think it's fine.
Okay.
Was that last sentence a new sentence or was that always in there?
The resource
Whether
areas
or
shall be
not-
protected.
Yeah.
I think that was always in there. Said resource areas shall be protected whether or not they border surface water.
Is that needed?
That was the discussion if it's a vernal pool or an IVW
Yeah, I think
over a BVW. So if it's not bordering, we say we're gonna protect it even if it's not bordering.
Okay.
Right? That was how we differentiated that.
Yep.
Yeah, but should it be specified or refer to? I guess it doesn't really need to.
It didn't bother me. I don't know if it bothered anybody else. I thought it made sense to have it there.
Oh, I see why that comment that it says that we don't need, we're somewhat redundant here. Because we start off saying, except as permitted by the commission, no person shall.
Yeah, this,
You almost don't need that first clause. You just start with no person shall. Except you need at some point to introduce the term Wakefield Conservation Commission, paren the commission. You can leave it as far as I'm concerned. It's not problematic.
Jennifer, did you have a comment?
Yeah, the MAC template has a statement to that effect, under applications and fees. No activity shall commence without receiving and complying with a permit issued pursuant to this bylaw. On page 2, which I don't think this bylaw says anywhere, except in that clause.
Oh, here.
Yeah.
So I think this is okay. I'm still.
I think we're saying the same thing. The only thing we're not saying, Jennifer, is commence work. But we're essentially defining the work that they can't undertake.
Sorry, how would you rephrase that?
I don't know that we need to.
Okay.
I mean, unless Jennifer, you're suggesting we need to add in no person shall commence work to remove, etc.
Well, I think what I was just saying was that if you removed this kind of end of the sentence, you might want to add that other sentence in.
I think we're leaving that the whole NOI thing there. At least that's my preference.
Well, we might get more feedback on it. I don't feel like we have to spend
Okay.
a ton of time. Did anybody else have comments? Are we good to I guess move on to the next topic, or I can accept changes? And are we good to at least post a draft on the website? Or what are we thinking?
I'm personally feeling good about all of the above that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Agree.
You agree? Okay.
Jennifer, you have your hand up again?
Yeah, I did want to say that I know there have been questions about where the area sizes for some of the water bodies have come from. I did spend some time looking at that before today's meeting, including, sizes specified for isolated wetlands, vernal pools. I guess maybe the most important one is that where other municipalities' bylaws specified a size of a vernal pool, they said it was 200 cubic feet. And I did have a question about under section A there up on the screen, where it says pond of any size, which I think some bylaws do say that. But then later it says isolated wetlands. The commission will only consider wetlands if they're, I think, 1,000 square feet or larger.
Yes, I had thought of it like we want people to come to the commission and consult us before they do any work, on the ponding area in their yard to make sure it's whether it's in our jurisdiction or not, but I don't know how anybody else felt about that.
I think the 1,000 feet that we have is for isolated vegetated wetlands, but I'm not sure if we have a minimum for just straight up isolated wetlands.
Oh, the 1,000 feet was isolated vegetated wetlands.
Yeah.
And you're differentiating between isolated wetlands and isolated vegetated wetlands?
I'm not sure if we do, but like a pond of any size, like a vernal pool would just be an isolated wetland, might not be vegetated.
Right, and I think often a vernal pool, well, I say often, but sometimes a vernal pool has a different size standard. The 200 cubic feet, which is, I think, smaller than this 1,000 square feet.
I think we use 200 square feet.
Yeah, how does the cubic, so where did that come from? How does the cubic feet come into play? It holds that much water?
Yeah, that's what a few bylaws that say anything about what defines the size of a vernal pool for the jurisdiction. And I found this in Linfield, Medford, Stoneham, and the other bylaws that I looked at didn't say anything about size. But they said 200 cubic feet.
Well, we have 200 cubic feet. I think we must.
Okay.
At
I
some
think-
time during the year, most years. Okay, thank you.
I think we pulled that from Malden.
I didn't see it in Malden, but maybe I overlooked it. But and I also don't know that Malden protects those.
Where does Matt Byrne? Where's he on the Conservation Commission?
Alden.
Oh, okay. That's what I thought we had looked at. This either came from MACC or Malden. We were looking at that. But, so it sounds like we're being consistent with the research you found for vernal pools, at least.
Yeah.
Are there any, did you find any that protect all vernal pools? Just curious. Like any that didn't have a no size restriction?
Usually they didn't say anything about the size at all. And when they did, they said it was
Okay.
minimum of 200 cubic feet.
Okay, because I do wonder if the 200 cubic feet is huge.
20 by 10, by a foot deep.
I guess it's not that, but yeah, you're right, Paul. Okay,
So it's not huge.
okay. Okay, I think, any other comments?
No, we should wrap up and
Okay, move on to the next.
agenda item.
Okay, do we need to make a motion or anything, or I'll just take the edits we agreed and send a clean copy to Judy and Ethan to post as draft on the website? Does that work?
I think that's reasonable. Yeah,
Okay, I make a motion to do that.
I'll second your motion then.
Okay. To accept the changes as discussed and post on the website. Okay.
Fine.
Ken,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Eleanor,
Yes.
and I'll also say yes.
Stop sharing.
So next up is open space and rec plan discussion, which I know Ethan had sent out the latest on this in the packet.
Yep.
I haven't gotten a chance to really dig into this, but you said that all the outstanding items have been addressed. Does anyone else have anything to add on this right now?
Can you share your screen and we go through the ones on the
Yep.
action plan and such? And then did you guys ever compile a list or no?
List of what?
Of the like the comments that we had gotten. Okay,
Just what we looked at the last two meetings.
so that was just from Counselor Vincent.
So yeah, I'll just go through the edits.
Okay.
This was just updating stuff with the MBTA communities that it mentioned. It was just out of date on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Then
What's
the
up?
map. Oh, sorry. Map 5. Are you
I'll
guys
just
gonna
go.
make? Okay.
I'll just go down the list. This was just a comment on the map, but we had some other info.
Okay.
And then I suggested adding this sentence just to solidify the purpose of this.
Go down a little bit further. I think they wanted language, we go back, that said these are recommendations.
Which is what that new sentence says, right? The Conservation Commission recommends the implementation.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was thinking we were given specific phrasing.
That was pretty much this one. They said
This one, okay.
Recommend. Yeah.
Okay.
And that would just be like replacing the sentence there.
So you would delete the sentence
delete
above?
delete the sentence above.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. We'll do a strike through, yeah.
Right. I'll go back through it later.
Okay, and then go on. Sorry.
What is TA?
It's town administrator,
Uh,
just where it calls out
who's
the
leading?
lead. Yeah.
I see.
Trying to open my copy. So they had issues with the town administrator being tagged to these.
Yeah, and assigning tasks and having the authority to assign something to the town administrator.
Bob Vincent had suggested changing it to town, and we did have a discussion about that. I think that's too vague because I think if someone picks up a plan and it just says town, then it looks like, well, who do I contact? I think would be frustrating for someone where it's vague.
Well, is that person going to be actually hired into the recreation department?
Yes.
So should it be RD?
They don't do the hiring.
Sorry?
I don't think they do the hiring. I think they would recommend a candidate, but I think the town administrator appoints the person.
Okay.
But shouldn't they decide to hire someone or not? Like it.
The recreation department, it would be the same as conservation. A recommendation is made, but then it's up to the town administrator to appoint the person.
I think the issue with this was that it's not with it being the town administrator, but that it seems like it's sort
a
of
requirement.
Yeah. So I don't know if changing the name or changing to the rec department would fix that issue. I was thinking we could add, like how this one says, potential funding source. We could have this be potential lead or potential support. That could help clarify it.
Yeah. I mean, I personally think, yeah, putting it to the recreation department, I agree with you, would soften it.
I'll just add this here and we could see how it looks.
We're trying to get away from having the town administrator be essentially delegated by us.
Yes.
I would say we need to go to RD to TA or something like that.
I think
The Recreation Department's still gonna recommend.
Yeah. It's more in the line with the last comments of how we're trying to make it clear that these are just recommendations, not
Right.
stuff that's enforceable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, are you going to change TA to RD, or what did we decide?
Do you want to do that?
I would suggest that, just so you don't go back a third time and have the same issue come up.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
So what about, I think there's 3 other instances where it mentions the town administrator.
Oh. Yep. I would just. He helps all of us get our jobs done, so I think you don't have to include it.
Do you think there's not going to be any concern of, despite who the lead is named as, having the authority? Because we don't have authority over like the recreation department to do that.
Well, we
Do you
don't.
think that clears it up enough?
I think all of us have very little authority. Like, we're tasked with running a trail steward program, and we still have to go to town council to, have the trail steward get approval for the trail steward to do specific things. But I don't think we're assigning the town council to those tasks. So I think this is similar. They would initiate a plan to hire somebody if needed. It would be on them to validate it and get support from the town administrator and town council. I guess that's the way I was thinking of it.
Well, that's what I thought as well, but the concern brought up by the town council was that it almost comes across as potentially having the authority to do that, or thinking that we have the authority, so. Yeah. I think it's fine as is, with what we're adding, with what we're changing, but.
I did have one question on the ADA transition plan. Sorry, up above. Nope, go up a little bit. Yeah, 2A3. We talk about year 1, but in the accessibility study, they talk, when you look at that appendix, it talks about not initiating things till 2030, I think. So I wasn't sure if that was a disconnect.
No, I think it's
a typo. Yeah,
no,
or what the difference was.
No, there were some that were pushed out beyond the plan date, but the rest were within the plan timeframe.
Okay. That was the other one. They weren't crazy about.
Well, if it's the 3 committees, couldn't it just be Concom, Planning Board, and ZBA? Because I know they held these before, and I think Erin was involved, but she was in a different role at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have to admit, the first bullet, number 1, talking about all the town committees,
No, the 3
Yeah.
permitting boards.
only the 3.
But it's assigned to T.
I'm not sure why you're saying it twice.
I don't think we should have number 1.
That's
I don't know. I think it's so daunting. I think that was difficult for the town council.
The first one, well, it was so everyone can understand the other board's permitting roles and what their restraints are according to their regulations.
And are we talking about the same 3 as we are in 2, Judy?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
then
I
why
guess
don't
the
we put
question is the
those in
difference
there rather
between,
than TA?
Like, it's hard to tell what because number 1 sounds like every single committee.
Yeah, I mean, if
In
we're only
town.
talking about Conservation Commission, Planning Board, and ZBA, then let's say that up in 1 as well as in 2.
But then what's the difference? Because they both
If
sound the
the first
same.
one is discussing common goals and objectives, understanding each other's roles and responsibilities. The second one, well, it does sound like it's the same thing.
But the second one is talking about more open space. It's more of a directed,
Specifically discuss
Subject.
open space issues. So the first meeting is sort of a get to know you.
But the first one also talks about having an interest in open space.
right, but it's
But
how,
it doesn't,
how
yeah,
the regulations constrain how they can view it. Because the ZBA can issue an order that infringes further into the 25-foot setback. And then that conflicts with what the commission is asking for. So it's more getting an understanding of how they can work together to make a better product without, going against someone, pushing someone into a situation,
Mhm.
which is, what can happen. The ZBA will set a standard and then the commission has to try to work within that. It's like a setback is already set for them once they get the permit.
so I just suggest we copy the lead and support responsibilities in 2 back up into 1 and take out the town administrator. Solve the problem of delegating to town administrator when we can't do that.
So the first one is to talk about common goals, and the second one is to talk about the permitting process.
Yes.
Go back. Do you see where we have 6 different? Okay, that's fine. That's just encouraging.
Fine.
Sorry, I'm looking at 4, 5, and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Is this, okay, just related to? Okay, we agree we need, like, all these committees would do this. Okay.
We'd advocate for them to do this.
I think the first one was above. The other mention of the town administrator. Actually, let me look for it. Was there 4 or was it 3? I don't remember.
No idea.
I think it had gone down to 3, but can we look at the pocket part? Because I can't remember if town administrator was tagged to that one.
Sure. Is that down more? Yeah.
I thought it was in section 2, like under goal 2. I just don't remember seeing it.
Here, number 3.
Yes.
It looks like 1, 2, and 3 all have some pocket park component.
I honestly, oh,
I can go through the rest of them if you want.
okay. No, I struggled with the pocket park concepts. When I read the survey responses, I sort of read the feedback that we didn't take good enough care of the parks we had.
Mhm.
And
Well,
certainly, I, you know, um, yeah,
I'm not sure they're mutually exclusive though, Eleanor. Doing a better job on the parks we have and developing pocket parks or recreation spaces in the locations noted.
hmm. And then Audubon Park Road near Edgewater, that's sensitive habitat. I guess that was my other,
Where's that?
it's in the prioritized locations for, like, I just,
Right, but it's an environmental justice area. That's why it was added. Because there were no recreational opportunities out there. And that's something that
Yeah.
the state gears in on.
the Colonial
not
Point.
Right, but they have a tennis court out there. They have a whole back parking lot, so it's looking at something like that.
Okay. Yeah,
Let's move on.
move on. Yep.
And then this one, I'd change
Oh,
these
yeah.
to the town instead of the school department, like was recommended.
Mhm.
And changing this to the DPW.
Okay.
And that was it.
Go
And then
down. Oh.
additional stuff like on the maps, like you started showing at the last meeting.
Mm-hmm. I sent you guys a couple map pages. Sorry. Did you put any of that stuff, those stuff in, like the Lowell parcel?
Not in this one. It was sort of too much to address all of it and get it in here.
Okay.
It might be good to look at it on its own.
Were we gonna look at the draft responses from the consultant? I thought you had sent those out.
We can look at them if you'd like, yeah. Did I send them out?
I thought,
Yes, I believe I remember looking
like
at
maybe
that.
2 weeks ago.
Okay. Do you have it in front of you by chance? Anyone?
Don't. I'd have to dig it up. Judy, I did have a question. I'm not sure I ever got a great answer. Like on the lands of conservation interest section, how come town forest isn't listed as one of those?
I think because it was under tax title and it's on the list to be, the tax title properties that were going to be requested to get transferred to Concom. And the commission voted in November to have Elaine issue a letter to town council requesting it get transferred to the care and custody of the commission.
In November we did?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
So when are we supposed to hear back on
But
something like that?
should we update the plan so it's consistent? Like, should we update the
Well,
open space
when
and rec plan to make
Well, I
that
think that could
consistent?
be, I think if it gets done, then that could be part of a modification to the plan. Because the plan can be modified as many times as the commission wants over the course of the life of the 7 years. And I think that's something you may want to think about if you're looking at more large scale changes. Get the corrections done and get this approved, and then work on a modification for later in the year.
Okay. Okay, you don't think there's a risk that town council could say, oh, we're not going to let you do that because you didn't put it in the plan?
But it was put on the request to be transferred to the commission already under the tax title properties.
Okay. Oh, do we have the final outcome of that? Like, can that be shared with the commission of what the recommendations were?
What do you mean? From the title search?
Yeah.
I don't know what the final outcome is. I know it was completed. I don't know, other than the town forest, what else did the commission request to have transferred? I think you'd have to put a list of the parcels was put together.
Okay.
The tax title, but I think the commission would still have to request, do they want, in this discussion happened before, do they want all the parcels requested to their care and custody? Or I think that's why the town forest came up, because I think at the time it was decided that that was the one that the commission wanted to move forward with first, rather than do them all at once.
Okay, because I guess why I bring this up is because in table 5.1 of the town properties, the lands of conservation interest, the Emerald Necklace Conservation Area is listed, but that's all tax title today. Like, I think the majority of it is tax title.
Yeah,
So
because that was the biggest swath, and that's what I think the commission had decided. They didn't want to do a request for everything all at once. So that's why they picked the town forest.
Okay, but then can't we just make an update here and put town forest on the lands of
You can,
conservation?
but I don't know how map changes are done, in terms of cost. That's why I'm saying modifications can always be made. But do you want, these are more wholesale changes is what I'm saying. I don't know how that's going to, I don't know how that will affect things. I mean, the commission can choose whatever they'd like to do. I just don't know how that plays out.
Okay, because I'm not, sorry, sorry, I'm being pushy here. I'm just trying to understand a little bit better. Okay, so we have this list. I think it doesn't, like town forest already appears on the map. I'm not sure there's a consistency with an item on table 5.1. Ethan, I don't know if you want to pull that up. It's like page 51 of the file versus town forest. Because it's not, okay. I see town forest is under parks and playgrounds, table 5.2. So it's on the maps. I guess my question is if we're requesting transfer to Conservation Commission, wouldn't it be better to put it under table 5.1? And if you have to update the map to include missing parcels, why wouldn't we just do that now?
You can, I just don't know what the cost is. That's what I'm saying. I don't know how any of this works cost-wise. And if I just thought the commission was going to go forward with the corrections and get the plan submitted now. I mean, it's up to you. I mean, that's the commission's decision to make.
Right. Ethan, can you just pull it up on your screen so
Yeah.
we can just,
It's like page 51.
yep. Okay, so go up a little bit. Sorry, it starts. Yeah. See where it says lands of conservation interest? So you have Emerald Necklace, all these areas, Payon, and actually, yeah, some of them don't. They're just wildlife, but now go down lower. And then parks and playgrounds. So you have town forest here. Whoops, go down a little further. I don't know why it's not showing. Yeah, so
Right, because it's attached to Maple Way Playground.
so that's the only reason to have it under this table versus lands of conservation interest.
I think so. I mean, you can make whatever changes you want, I guess. I mean, it's up to the commission. If they want to make changes, I don't know. That's your decision to make.
Okay, and then we're saying it's under tax title review, but we don't have that marked on town forest. I'm guessing because that's finished.
It isn't finished yet, the tax title review,
Okay,
but it's already called the town forest. I think that's why it was listed as that. It's always been
Okay.
called town
town
forest.
forest, yeah. Okay. I just wouldn't. You guys were on the subcommittee. Did this come up with a distinction between recreation and conservation
I don't remember.
areas?
I don't remember that specifically. Sorry.
Okay.
All that.
I mean, there aren't any amenities in town forest, but I guess to your, you can come back to it. I'm just thinking if the commission is going to ask for it to be transferred, I would have thought we put it under conservation interest. So we don't have a paved trails going through there. Sorry, Ethan, you can keep going on to the other sections.
Which section did you want?
I think we had to finish the rest of the action plan.
The map, right?
Well, you guys still have to do the map. Oh, sorry, I'm getting off track. You were gonna just look at the responses from the consultant?
Oh yeah, I have those.
Okay, sorry.
So like the number was the state's comment and then responses from the consultant.
Yeah, I don't know what else could have been done to really get more engagement.
Well, did you guys use the town Facebook page or like the main ones with like the 14,000 people.
I know the communications department was involved like the same way that they are with the other surveys.
I don't think, well, I think you just respond to this with what you did.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, like if you go on to the website now, for example, I got a town alert last week on the proposed fish line recycling
Right, I think those are
structures.
when
And
they're,
then,
when they're the headline on the town webpage.
well, you get an alert, yeah, and then they also have an advertisement on the town webpage.
Right, but that happened with the open space plan and with the survey. It was on the town page.
Okay, so you just say what you did. Okay. So the vegetation one. So I guess when I went back and looked at their response, or I don't know, the paragraph that they referred to, section 4D, I'm not sure if it was added in or overlooked, but it was, they talked about essentially the Voc land having 30 acres as additional forest. Hang on, let me see if I can pull it up. Section D. Sorry, I'm trying to find the section in the, if that's in section 5 or. Okay, well, I don't know that the vegetation response was accurate. That was my point. I think that's actually something we probably want to look at in the draft plan. Okay, most forested land in Wakefield consists of deciduous tree cover, including residential areas. Areas of evergreen trees are concentrated at Town Forest, Crystal Lake Watershed Protection Area, Northeast Metropolitan Vocational School consisting of 30 acres, Emerald Necklace, and Grandview Conservation Areas. Yeah, so that's what you guys added. Geologic, and then move down to section 4.5. What's that? Are you guys okay with those responses? Then I guess my concern reading this was only where we use recreation and conservation. If recreation denotes some active use, you have equipment there, does it change what grants you can get, or does it confer a development component that the commission might not want on a piece of land? That was kind of my general concern with the recreation versus conservation designation.
What do you mean by development use?
Like, if you say if you say recreation, like in a forest, for example, would somebody come along and say, okay, well, we're going to put a paved bicycle trail through the middle of town forest?
Right, but wouldn't
Because
that be the town's option if they wanted to do that? It's like the bike trail, the Linfield portion that's going through the Reedy Meadow. I mean, I don't know how you control that.
you list it as conservation interest and not
Right, but
recreation.
that doesn't give any authority to stop anything.
But it's a start by inventorying the conservation value of a piece of land. Because you
Right,
can do
but-
recreation anywhere. You can.
Right,
like,
but it's showing that there's more than one value to a forest, that there is recreational value for hiking or,
you can do those things without, it's passive recreation. It's not developing something that you have to then maintain.
but I don't know. I don't know that the language is going to change what could be undertaken at any of these places, if it's town property.
I thought it was the open space and recreation committee's plan to decide, like, to review the inventory and consider best use for each of these properties.
Right, but recreation is one of the uses. So you can't limit, if the town wants to put something in, this plan isn't going to limit it. It's not going to prohibit it, even if it suggests passive recreation only.
Mhm.
And biking probably is considered passive recreation. So I think that's like a worst case scenario And I don't know how you guard against that.
Okay. Okay. So obviously I prefer that our sensitive areas are not developed. Anyway. So town council's seen that, so I think the only other edits, Ethan, you were considering were just updating the map slightly.
I think that's something that we should all look at if we want to do that, yeah. Whether it's now or next meeting.
I was under the impression town council wanted this back, or they wanted, like, weren't we supposed to act quickly on this and send it back?
I think the
Based
quicker the
on-
better, but can't send it back until it's all done.
Did you want to pull up the map things quick?
Sure. Let me see if I
Or,
have.
or share those?
Yeah. Do you have it with your comments on it? I didn't have enough time to look into each
Oh,
one.
no, I have info on each of those.
Okay.
Let me see. Oh. This is gonna share. Sorry, I'm trying to drag this over so I can pull it, but it's not cooperating. So I think you threw in the to Arundel Ave, right? The other one, the Lowell parcel, it's actually mentioned in the 2005 recreation plan, I think as an accomplishment.
I think it was not highlighted because the majority of the lot is within the floodway and the rest is shaded zone X, which is moderate chance of flooding. So it's something that would have protection already from any kind of development interest.
Well, now I'm confused because is the open space, when I read it, it was supposed to be all sort of town-owned land.
Not all,
essentially.
no, it's not all town-owned lands. This section was lands of conservation and recreation interest. It's not a list of all.
Okay, sorry, when I see page 5, inventory of lands of conservation and recreation provides a complete listing of private and public open space and recreation lands in Wakefield, noting level of protection from development, public access, and recreational potential. The level of protection imposed on these lands varies. Some are protected in perpetuity from future development, while others may have only limited and temporary protection. So I would think it would just be shown, like we're showing the Nahant Street pit as conservation land, but it has 0 conservation value.
But, right, but if it's turned over and no longer a compost site, it has conservation value because it's a wetland in the floodplain.
They're storing their salt there. They store all kinds of equipment and things. You think, I mean, would it ever have conservation value after?
If it's decommissioned, sure, of course it could. It's the same as Camp Curtis Guild. If that's decommissioned, which they've talked about before.
Okay.
I mean, that's 22, 23 acres.
Well,
of
this is-
wooded area.
Well, so this was Saugus River floodplain. I guess I don't understand why we wouldn't include it. It is open space. It's forested. It's, I guess, conservation value, right? It is town-owned land.
Are you talking about Lowell?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that can be added.
Okay. I thought you were saying it can't be.
No, no, no.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was up here. Yeah, and then I was a little unsure of the conservation lands, how we track those, but since there was a newspaper article about 200 Quannapowitt in like the last 2 weeks.
But that, they haven't decided how they're gonna protect it. They haven't
Okay.
still haven't decided that.
Okay. Fair enough. Do we have a way to track that stuff going forward so we don't lose sight of those?
If it's not you can, but that's not under the commission, or it might not be. They haven't decided that.
I think I thought in our orders of condition, we request land to be set aside to put into conservation. So I think we would
Right,
want.
but the method to protect it, they haven't decided if it's going to be a deed restriction, a conservation restriction, transfer to the care and custody. That hasn't been decided.
Right, but shouldn't we still have an inventory of those properties where we've made the request for land to be put into some kind of protection? Because otherwise, how would we know if it ever happened or how?
Well, they haven't gotten a certificate of compliance yet, so you would know at that point.
You would know at that point. And then would we capture that in our inventory?
I don't know that there is an inventory. You can, I mean.
Can we create one? That's what I'm like, can we create one? So it's really, I guess, those two main parcels. Where else? What was that? It's funny, your notes look different. Oh, I don't understand why the Voc wasn't colored. It is a school, the same as the other.
Isn't it, it's colored yellow, isn't it?
No, this parcel, that is the whole Voc parcel, it's white.
Where is it? I can't.
Ethan has it up. Ethan, if you pull that purple box away. Do you see the 50? Right next to Saugus? Yeah.
But there is a Voc parcel that's in pink.
Hang on a
Oh,
second.
no, that's a breakout. That's a breakout parcel.
Yeah. So I would think the whole Voc property would be yellow. Same as the other schools.
But
it's white here.
Isn't it 45? Can you blow it up a little bit?
Yeah, can you blow it up and then move my little comment box? Just move that. Yeah, there's no number.
What is it on the listing on the page prior?
I'll pull it up.
Didn't think it was listed. But...
$49.
Which is yellow with the pink stripes through it.
That's
yeah.
I don't think that's the Voc. So yeah.
Well, if you follow this line of Farm Street, you're looking at 47 and 46, which would be the high school and the Woodville. So that street, that Hemlock Road would be right up the middle. So that would make sense that 49 where they're showing right there.
That's the old Voc.
That should be right, but that's still all their parcel.
Yeah, but the new Voc is along the line of 50, isn't it?
Yes, it's in the white area.
It's in that white area. That whole white area is the new Voc property, isn't it?
Yes. But like the whole Wakefield High School property is covered, I thought.
That's 47, right?
Yeah.
Well, if we're covering the high schools, then we probably should note cover the Voc area, expand the Voc area from what 49 shows to the larger area. If in fact that is all Voc property.
Oh, and then Butler Ave and Gumwood Conservation Area 28. I thought we're missing. Oh, like you see a number 28. Maybe is it less than an acre or something? Because
I think it's just covered by the number.
oh, is it that tiny?
Mm.
That's it. Okay. Yeah. Well, I think the three big ones we got, if you do the Lowell and you do the 2 Arundel Ave, which extends off Maple Way, and the Voc piece, it's probably okay. Oh, and that triangle, that funny triangle on Prospect Street.
That's on there though.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Maybe
it's a little
it's
parcel.
Where is it?
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there it is, 14. Okay, perfect. Okay, we're good. Maybe it wasn't on 19. Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you.
Anything else on that plan?
What are your next steps with that, Ethan?
I guess getting the edits done, probably with the consultant, then might as well look at it again at one of our meetings and see where it goes from there.
I would suggest responding to Councillor Vincent with how you addressed his comments. Just to head that,
Yes.
to head that off and make sure that he's okay with how we approached it.
Okay.
And then I guess also let him know that we'll add the 2 parcels.
Yep.
And yeah, some of the others, whatever we can't add until they are put in conservation. If that's the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do we have anything else on our agenda?
Yes.
Let's see.
We've got beaver management checklist and Concom applicant letter of support.
Great.
So for the beaver checklist, I thought it would be worth looking at it again and getting, I guess, making sure the Board of Health is okay with it if we wanted to post it. I know we went to their meeting, but I don't know if the checklist was reviewed by them.
I'm not sure I've ever reviewed the checklist.
Yeah.
No, we haven't talked about the checklist in a long time.
I think last meeting we said we would post it, but after looking at it again, I just wanted to bring it back.
Yeah, look at it. It's
Yeah.
been like 8 months.
Well-
And maybe this needs to be more specific.
I think it was intended to just be an internal document anyways. So I guess we can think about
Well-
if we want it posted or not.
I actually drafted it and I was thinking of it more for the two boards to use.
Mhm.
You know, to read the policy and to kind of go through and be like, oh, what do we need to do, or what are the recommended steps? Was how I was thinking about it, and who needs to be involved.
Yep.
How many more steps are there beyond the 6 I see?
Let's see.
I'll just go at the bottom.
Yeah, that's it. So I have 3 sections. It was go to the top. Sorry.
Yeah,
Investigate the complaint. You know, take photographs, determine, you know, and then who does what.
Yep.
Um,
It looks like a reasonable checklist.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the top, the very
Okay.
first one?
yeah.
Um,
And maybe
Okay.
DPW gets the complaints too. I don't know.
For beavers, well, I'm sure anyone will get the complaints, but the official one goes to the Board of Health.
Yeah. And I don't know if maybe it needs to say inform conservation agent versus the Conservation Commission, because you're here and able to answer the phone.
Well, this is like once the Board of Health would notify us. That's more what it is. But
Right,
either
but don't
way,
you want them to notify you?
well, it's saying the Board of Health will notify us, me, or the commission, probably me.
We
And
should,
I'll-
we
Probably
should
should
probably
say
be
inform
It
specific.
should just
conservation
say
agent
department.
and commission. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Department, you said, or
I would
agent and commission?
say agent and you update us personally,
Okay.
but it can be both. It's just usually these emergency orders require a quick response. Or these complaints.
so the site visit, and the photographs, that would have to be something that the Board of Health would have to, weigh in on before you have it on the checklist, I think.
Yeah. Well, it's not an official checklist, just guidance. That's why I was
Mhm.
thinking it wasn't going to be
Oh.
posted.
Yeah, you could
Send it
share it
out.
with
Are we
them.
proposing to send this to the Board of Health for their thoughts?
I think at the last meeting, when you said we should
Yeah.
post it on our website, so
Well,
that's why I
you-
wanted to look at it
Well,
posted.
no, so we had talked to the Board of Health and they had not seen the document, and they'd mentioned that there was a rough checklist and they would love to see this rough checklist.
I think it would be a good idea to send it to them and ask for their thoughts.
Yeah, and we could just say proposed beaver management policy checklist draft, whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
go down. So this you would have to look at more closely because I've never documented an emergency order. I did recall seeing something from the Board of Health person, and then I think Elaine had written up something to,
But the emergency order is separate from what the commission would issue, the emergency certification. So they don't have a role in determining whether it's a public health emergency. That's only the Board of Health.
right. So maybe we want to rephrase that. I think that's where the public and other groups get confused because yes, the Board of Health issues the
They declare
emergency
the public emergency.
Right, but we issue permission to breach the dam.
Right.
So
And
if you,
the trapping has nothing to do with the commission.
Mhm.
Sounds like maybe just removing this
Yes.
part. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Unless
on the
that changes. I don't know what the intention was with that.
one
but-
up above,
Yeah.
deny a request emergency order, that wouldn't be the commission.
Yep, you can take that out. If kill permit will address the flooding events. I
Commission.
mean,
That's not up to the
Judy.
commission.
well, you're gonna know, like, I don't know, you would know.
But it's
better than a-
whether to issue a trapping permit. That's not the commission's.
Oh.
We don't
So
have
maybe
that
want to
authority.
rephrase 7 is like, I guess, and we'll, it's really will trapping the beaver. Does the commission believe trapping the beaver, or I don't know, will address a flooding event? You could also delete that.
Yeah. Well, it's not, that's something the Board of Health does, not us anyways.
You are in a better position than the board as a conservation agent to understand what's driving a flooding event, right? Like the things that have happened. Sometimes
Maybe or
it's-
maybe not, but that's still something they do. Something they would be happy to work with us on too, but that's something that they do.
And I think the guidelines for a trapping permit are different. You know, there are specific times, there are some times of the year when you don't need a trapping permit.
Mhm.
So I don't think that's something that the commission, I mean, I think anyone can apply for a trapping permit if they want. That's really not the commission's
Mhm.
way to.
Would you want to just
No.
delete 7?
I mean, it is part of the process.
Okay.
Even if it's not ours.
Okay.
So let's go on.
Mhm. I thought I saw Jimmy for a second.
Yeah, I saw his name.
Yeah,
He's
he's
on the big J on my screen.
Jimmy, are you
Sign
there?
date order, I guess you would take off the Conservation Commission, or I guess our own order.
That's the emergency order, yeah. I don't think we signed that, do we?
I don't think we
No,
Mhm. So take us off.
Date the order expires.
propose.
And then I think you would take off the, yeah, take us off.
Yeah.
Mhm. If follow-up activities, if we want to do these things, it's up.
Seemed like the first one, document resolution of emergency order, is something that the Board of Health would probably want to be involved in.
Yeah, I think it's more for us, like putting it in our files. I think that's what
Okay.
it means.
All right.
They'll document it as well.
All right. They'll do theirs, we do ours. All right.
Yeah.
So are we sending this to them for their thoughts? Is that the next step here?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Well, definitely, but so what was the intention? Is it to post it or just for keeping it inside?
Looks like it's an internal document is what I
Yeah,
thought I
that's what I was
understood.
thinking.
Yeah, I would
Process,
think,
procedure.
Okay.
I would think internal at the very least until
Okay.
Board of
Yeah.
Health looks at it too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So let's start with Board of Health comments and take it from there.
Mhm.
So
Do you think-
Ethan, can you forward that on to them?
Yeah. Do you think it'd just be fine sending it to them, or do you want to go talk to them again? I think just sending it would be fine.
I think
I
just
would-
sending it for now, and then if they have questions, we can follow up.
I would send it with the policy again,
Yeah.
so that both can be sent together.
Yeah, okay. All right. Last thing is applicant letter of support.
Yes. Jimmy didn't join, but Jennifer had applied to be a conservation agent.
Jim's on.
Oh, he is on.
Yeah.
There he
Can you
is.
hear us, Jimmy? Can you? Maybe he's stuck on mute.
Can you hear?
No, he's muted.
So I think the process is for us to write a letter of recommendation that we send to town council because they'll be voting. I think they did one round of voting on applicants already.
I think that might be more of a question for Jim. Fortunately, I don't know what the intention is here.
Yeah, I
Well, there's a
have no idea
process in our
because
town.
I don't know how it was dealt with. You applied for membership, Eleanor.
Yeah, and Teresa had said the commission voted to do a letter of support, and she wrote a letter of support and sent it to town council. It was signed by Jimmy.
Okay.
Oh, Jimmy's off mute.
Are you there?
Oh, we're not hearing
Off
you.
mute, but
Are you there, Jimmy? Interrupt me. So in reading the town handbook or the town committee handbook, the process is an applicant applies and the application is sent to the board, and then the board, I guess it was sent to Jimmy, the board votes to, or what, not vote, will we opine on the applicant to town council, because then town council looks at them.
Okay.
So I think Jennifer would make a wonderful addition.
Have we seen her application?
It has not been forwarded. Jim, are you there?
I'm guessing he's having some technical challenges.
Yeah, it had gone straight to Jim, I think. I didn't see it myself.
I'd still vote in support, by the way.
I would agree with a letter of support. I
Okay.
think we just need to, it would be good to cite, I don't know, what do you say in it?
I got the letter of support. I'm resourceful. I can
You've already got
draft
one?
what I can draft what I was proposing. Is
All right.
that, I mean, I can read out loud. It was brief. Give me one
Oh, we
second.
see you, Jimmy.
Hi, Jimmy.
I've lost my
Are we
notebook.
voting to write one, or were you voting on what has been written?
How about we vote to write one? We vote for me to write one.
You should write one for Paul as well.
Oh, Paul, are you reapplying? We can do one for Paul too.
Okay.
I'll do one for you.
I'll make that motion to approve writing letters of support for both applicants.
I'll second.
Okay. Jimmy, will you third it?
Oh, I still can't hear.
We still can't hear you.
Thumbs up, Jimmy? Maybe he can't hear us either.
Can't hear us.
Okay, you can take the vote on it though, Haley.
Okay.
Ken?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Eleanor?
Yes.
I'll also vote yes. Jimmy, last chance.
Okay. I think that's a
Brady?
yes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else we need on that?
The last thing, that salt storage, Ethan, Edgewater. What's the latest with that?
I'm gonna meet with them tomorrow to touch base again, but I think we're on the same page with them.
Okay. They're keen to get that salt out of there?
Yeah, I'm gonna see if they can get it removed like as soon as possible.
Okay.
Otherwise,
you.
it'll be a week or two.
Okay. You should probably be there when it's being removed.
Mm.
Okay. don't have anything else.
We've completed the
Judy,
agenda.
did you have
so-
anything else?
Me?
All set.
Oh, no.
I'll make the motion to end the meeting.
I'll
Second.
second. Okay.
Sorry, my headphones just cut out for a second. What are we voting now?
Motion to adjourn to close the meeting.
All third. Ken,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Eleanor,
Yes.
and I also vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thanks, all folks.